Today we're pleased to introduce, or to welcome to the CERIAS seminar series Professor John Darcy from the University of Notre Dame. As you could probably guess from the nice suit and tie, he is in the School of Management there at Notre Dame, but does work in technical, the impacts or the impact of technical countermeasures on risk in computer system security. He's come to join us here in Indiana after spending, I guess, pretty much his entire life in Pennsylvania, having gone to Penn State, picked up an MBA at LaSalle, and then his PhD at Temple. And so we're pleased to welcome him here to Indiana.
Thank you.
CERIAS.
Thanks. Yes, I am from the Mendoza College of Business at the University of Notre Dame. I'm in the Department of Management. So I put a little picture there of Notre Dame for you. That's where I work. So basically my area of research and things I'm interested in are insider type security breaches. In this title, or in this talk, I use the term IS misuse, information systems misuse. Basically, people doing, whether it be illegal or inappropriate or just maybe unethical things with the use of computers, use of technology, and in the workplace. I'm focusing on the workplace. Again, I am from the School of Business, so my research is really focused on that area. So in this talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about, in general, what I mean by information systems misuse. And then I'm going to present a study I did, a large-scale survey of 8 organizations, and discussing some of their security practices and some of the things they have put in place that can be potentially used to deter information systems misuse, or these insider-type security breaches. Okay. So let me just say, too, if at any point anybody has questions, feel free. You can stop me at any time during the talk. This can be as interactive as you like, so there's no need to wait till the end. If there's anything unclear, just feel free to raise your hand. Okay, so just quickly, again, what I mean by information systems misuse, and I kind of went with the term IS misuse in this study because I saw that used a lot in the research or in the literature, so I tried to be consistent. But we're talking about things like, again, it's kind of a broad category. Could be illegal activity, illegal use of information systems. Again, like just software piracy would be something that's illegal. Could just be inappropriate, maybe using your employer's resources in an inappropriate manner, not as prescribed by security policy. Could just be unethical behaviors, looking at things that maybe you shouldn't be looking at while on your employer's time. Okay, so it gave some examples as well. Unauthorized modification of programs, unauthorized access. So an example of that would be maybe someone from, maybe somebody working in human resources looking up coworkers' salary information. They might have access to this type of information, but or maybe they know how to get access to that type of information because of where they work and their stature within the organization, but it's not necessarily appropriate. So things like that, unauthorized use of services, that would be maybe using the web when you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be doing something else at that time while in the workplace. Software piracy I mentioned, and then the example there, purposeful interruption of computer services. There's been quite a few examples in the literature of especially more technical folks, people working within IS departments that have maybe been disgruntled, had some type of beef with their employer, and purposely put a virus on the network or done something like that, done something purposely to bring the network down. So that would be an example of an insider type incident that would be under that category of purposeful interruption. So those are just a few examples. Again, using the term IS misuse, kind of a broad category, but can encompass a lot of things. But these are the few things I'm going to focus on in this talk. Okay, so just quickly, kind of just to lay it out, why this even is an issue worth talking about. I think we probably hear a lot, just regularly, if you read any type of information systems or security periodicals, the insider threat is kind of a big deal. Oftentimes you'll hear security people say insiders could be potentially, the weakest link when it comes to security. But just a few numbers. You may have heard of this CSI study. It's the Computer Security Institute annual study that comes out. The latest one, 2008, 2 types of insider abuse type categories were found to be rather prevalent. Insider abuse of network access is what they call one, or email. And then what would fall under that category would be things like viewing pornography while at work, using unauthorized or using unlicensed software. They found that to be the second most frequently occurring type of breach in terms of just quantity or number of incidents in the latest survey. So some other research, they estimate between 50 to 75% of all security incidents originate from within the organization. Now I'm seeing some numbers that would say maybe that might be a little bit inflated. So some might argue that that's inflated. Still, external type attacks really are still the more dominant type. But regardless, I think most people would agree that insider type incidents are a significant threat, and they are happening. In terms of, if it's 50% or 75% of all incidents, that's debatable. A couple other numbers. There are some statistics to suggest that these insider type incidents are potentially more costly of the ones that do actually happen. There was a study done by Vista Research back in 2002, and of the incidents they looked at, they found that of security breaches that ended up costing organizations more than $100,000, 70% of them were insider type incidents. Okay, so maybe these are some of the more damaging ones, at least coming from insiders. A more recent study by Verizon, they looked at a bunch of security breaches, and they found that the ones that were attributed, at least originated, somehow had something to do with insider type activity. There was a larger number of them than ones that originated solely from external sources. So, and then typically you hear most security professionals say, rule of thumb, about 1 in 10 insider security incidents is actually discovered. So if you kind of take that into account, these type of numbers that I'm showing you here probably fairly conservative, considering that a lot of these insider incidents don't even get detected to begin with. So the numbers I'm showing you here are basically the ones that people have been caught. These incidents have been detected. Okay. Other thing, a lot of times organizations are reluctant to report this type of activity to the public. Embarrassment, their stock price might be impacted. It kind of paints a black eye on the organization if you come out and you say, okay, we had this security incident and it happened from one of our own inside. So again, if anything, these type of figures are fairly conservative. Okay. Okay, so in the literature on information security and kind of risk assessment and risk analysis, there's what's called the security action cycle. And really what they say here is, as I have in the diagram, there's kind of 4 strategies for dealing with systems risk when it comes to insiders. And the first thing is deterrence. The idea there is, okay, you want to deter people from even engaging in this misuse to begin with, something to stop them. So for instance, an example of a deterrent, in everyday life. Say, someone walks into a convenience store, a 7-Eleven or something, and you see a sign on the wall and it says, anyone that shoplifts will be prosecuted, or such and such, there'll be how much dollars in fine, you could go to jail, something like that. Right? Just a sign up there that makes you think, okay, if I was potentially thinking about maybe stealing something from this store, I see there's something there to maybe deter that activity. So that's what a deterrent is. It's kind of a more passive approach. Okay. The next thing, assuming in the security action cycle, assuming that the potential inside abuser, the deterrence doesn't work. Well, the next thing the organization would have in place is preventatives. And those are things that physically stop you. Okay, so access controls, for example, something where you have to enter a password, maybe a biometric control. Something that, as opposed to just deterrent that's more passive, something that would physically try to prevent you from engaging in the misuse. And then, assuming that the abuse got through deterrence, deterrence did not work, the preventatives did not work, the next phase is that detection there. Okay, so okay, the abuse has happened. We as the organization, we want to detect it. And then finally, the last one is remedial actions. Okay, dealing with it after we've detected it. So in looking at these 4 parts here, these 4 phases of the security action cycle, as it's called, my research and what I'm going to talk about today deals with the first one, deterrence. Okay, what are some deterrent mechanisms that will help deter people from engaging in misuse within the organization? So before I move on, I kind of to some of the study here. Does anyone have any questions?